Hasdon University was large, its architectural marvels sprawling all over the cool, green landscape. The fall atmosphere brightened the area, somehow matching perfectly with the Romanesque design of the buildings. Around the massive, looming main building of the university was a sprawling park, dreamy and perfect, tended by the world's best gardeners and caretakers. Jack Mayflower seemed ordinary. I watched him jogging along a circular path around the park, striking white hair bouncing in the breeze, hands kept in an old, grey jacket pocket. "Jack Mayflower?" I asked, just as he passed my bench. He stopped, then looked back at me. "Yeah, what's up?" "My name is Kaya Jones," I explained. I held up a photo of the black worm. "I need to talk about this." "Where did you get that?" he growled, stern, accusing me of crimes I did not know. "I was attacked by it," I explained, half true, half false. "Alicia Valerio told me you brought one to her too?" "That's true," Jack stated. "I encountered the worms in a temple in Arcaronia. There was a cave, and there was some sort of pool filled with them." My mind raced back to the vision brought by the angelic light. I decided to ask about the path of enlightenment. Does this have something to do with the Kokeu, or the path of enlightenment? "How?" His brows furrowed, confused. "What do you know about the Kokeu?" "Just that there's some sort of benevolent gods," I hesitated. "I met a group of people who believe in them as gods, sort of." "There is no way the Kokeu are benevolent," Jack snarled. "Gods, maybe, but there is no way they are a force of good." "I don't understand," I responded. "One of their priests, they call them messengers, healed my broken arm. What's so bad about that?" "Look," he began, "I'm going to trust you with some very sensitive information. My cousin vanished because of this Kokeu. My cousin, Caleb Quall. And 99 people vanished looking for things surrounding the Kokeu. Ever since then, I've been looking for more information surrounding them, and everywhere I've heard the name of the Kokeu, terrible things have happened." "I see," I murmured. "Perhaps the messengers weren't as good as I thought." Jack took out his phone, then produced an image. It was a blurry photo of an odd man in a trench coat, and a woman nearby him, who was studying a skull in her hands. "These two people believe in the Kokeu, I think. I've never met them, but others searching for information have, and wherever they go, destruction follows." "Do these two have names?" "I'm not sure, but they identify themselves as part of a group, something called the Seven." Jack was hiding something. I looked into his thoughts, and I found two names, Leviathan Kane and Sadie Kaleri, and I remembered that both these names had been praised by Amadeus. "All right, but that doesn't explain why the Kokeu aren't benevolent," I continued. "Maybe they just have bad followers." "It's a feeling," Jack sighed. "I can't prove it, but I just know." "Thanks for the help," I finished. "By the way," Jack swiped to another picture, a compilation of exactly 100 people. "If you've seen any of these people, let me know." I studied it for a second, then realised I did recognise a couple of the missing. In fact, I'd spoken to one an hour ago. "Oh my God," I murmured. I pointed to an old man in the photo, one with a strange yet knowing smile. "That's Amadeus Schwann. He's like the leader of the messengers." "No," Jack buttered, remembering something. "That's Ezekiel Mira. He went missing in 1987 while looking for a temple in the Rockies at a place called Naniawik. He's alive." "Alive, and he looks the same age," I answered. I looked again, then remembered the messenger with the striking white hair, the one Amadeus, or rather Ezekiel, had told to set a timer. "I've seen him too. That's..." He paused, catching his mind. "That's my missing cousin. I don't understand." A distant bell rang. "I need to go," Jack murmured. He handed me a card. "Tell me if you know anything else." Before I could respond, Jack was off, running into the distance. I checked my watch. There was still 3 hours of time remaining until, well, the vision. I decided I needed to talk to Olivia Stone next. She'd been there, on the island of Acheronia, and she'd encountered these worms too. If I was to get any more information, it would be by her. Of course, I could confront Schwann and the messengers myself, but I wasn't entirely sure of Jack's convictions that the gods were evil. He himself seemed to doubt this, and the visions did seem true. That's when I remembered a small wrapped bag that Donald had dropped. It was probably still there, sitting in my kitchen. As soon as I thought of that, I felt this strong urge to return home, to open it, to find out what the hell was in it, and suddenly I found myself at home, the bag in my hands, a knife in the other. I checked the clock. Several hours had passed, and now there was but 1/4 more hour until the calamity, the vision I had been shown. What the heck happened? What had I been doing for the past few hours? I noted my hands felt off, and a second later I saw they were drenched in red, hot blood. The knife, too, was caught in the same red aura, and I realized the bag was open. The small black bag on the table was now open, and there was something vaguely peeking out. I took a step forward, and I saw what was within. It was a small figurine of me, except there was something off, something wrong with it. It was dressed in this odd uniform, one I'd never seen before. The figure was also covered in this thick, dark dust, and I swear, if I listened closely, I could hear it whispering. Behind me, I heard something creak, something swinging back and forth, back and... "Oh my God!" I shrieked. Hanging from the ceiling by this pitch-black rope bound to her ankles was none other than Olivia Stone. Her rainbow hair now matted by black goo, eyes bulging, and there was something else. Behind her, I heard this moist, wet, slurping noise, like a leech sucking on blood. I subconsciously reached for a knife. There was this dark, winged thing behind her, upside down like a bat, some sort of nozzle jammed into her neck. As I walked, the thing stopped feeding, then turned to look at me. I saw its face, ugly, dark, shadowed, and I saw a look of pure evil in its eyes. I raised the knife and I wasn't there anymore. Suddenly, I was at the side of Amadeus Schwann, and I saw on the clock that we were but 1 minute away from the calamity. I was back at the park, confused. What the hell? I growled. What's happening? Those who embrace evil have attempted to distract your quest, a man preached, one whom I'd never seen before. We have brought you back to fulfill your destiny. That was it. I'd had enough of this nonsense. You know what? I don't even trust you people, I growled. I pointed to Schwann. You didn't even tell me your real name. I was told you all vanished and came back like this. And what the heck have I been doing for the past few hours?
There is no time to question things, child, Schwann snarled. You are one of the 7, and you will fight for us.
No, I refuse. And suddenly, the earth shook, catching us off balance. I stumbled to the ground just as a black mass burst from the ground with a terrible screeching noise. The circular area the messengers surrounded began to break apart, falling, cracking, and revealing an open sinkhole with nothing but a terrifying goo beneath. You can't, the messenger defended. The book says that one of the 7 shall fall today, be consumed by the flames of justice. Then, I began, your book is wrong. What Schwann said next surprised me.
Perhaps,
he began.
It's so.
But before any of us could move, the worms erupted from the ground beneath us, and we suddenly were thrown through the air by what looked like massive tentacles made of thousands of the worms. Above us, a storm darkened, black lightning shooting through the air, launching bolts of judgment into the pit, burning the black worms. At first, I thought I would have landed in the sea of darkness, but I was wrong. Me and Amadeus crashed into barren, empty rock. I looked around confused, before realizing that my palms were now glowing. The worms, at the sight of this, seemed to draw away, backing, encircling us. I looked above to see the world above us, the circle of messengers chanting and casting some sort of force field around them. Later, I learned that nobody in the city saw the sinkhole. Perhaps some sort of camouflage. "Damn it, now what?" I snapped. The worms amassed themselves into serpents, crawling up nearby us. I held my hand out near one, and it caught ablaze with black flame, destroying it. "There's no way I can hold them off. Does your book say anything about this?"
"I'm afraid the Kokeyu weren't too keen on the details,"
Amadeus joked, somehow no longer the stern old man he was just minutes before. Above, someone screamed, and we saw a mass of black stretch out, encircle a messenger, and drag him into the swirling monster around us. The man was consumed, the black worms immediately covering him.
"Blessed are the Kokeyu, giver of all knowledge, creator of the universe,"
Amadeus prayed, hands together, forming a strange symbol. Whatever he was doing, it seemed to fight back the serpents of darkness on his end. Out of nowhere, I was suddenly struck by what I thought was a blade. It struck me, and suddenly I was covered by worms which burnt at the touch of my skin. I looked to see what seemed like a person, except it wasn't. It was the worms, pretending to be human, lumbering around, coming straight at me. I got up, then felt myself kicked, and I fell face first. Two of them were behind me. I got up, then placed my hands around the one in front of me, igniting the mass, then stepping back before placing both hands on the two creatures at once, destroying them too. I looked over at Amadeus, and the angelic figure which gave me the visions had somehow appeared, swirling around him, destroying everything in their path. The battle continued on. Creatures formed by the inky black erupted from the swirling hurricane around us. Above us, the messengers continued their hollow chant, banishing the worms which tried to escape. Nearby, Amadeus and his angel continued to fight. And suddenly, the fight stopped. I looked around, and I saw something emerge in front of me. The mass of black parted, and out of the shadows came none other than Quint Mognis. "Kaya," they murmured, the black worms swirling around them. "Don't do this. You don't have to be involved. Leave." Before I could say anything, their eyes turned black, the worms into their skin. Like before, Quint was possessed, but this time I was ready. Across from me, nearby Schwann, appeared Donald Zoll, seemingly back from the dead. His eyes were black, and now that I think about it, his eyes were always black, right since when I met him. Donald still had that evil smile on his face, now revealing rows and rows of teeth. I hoped the messenger could handle it. Meanwhile, I confronted the thing within Quint, who threw a punch at me, which I sidestepped before sending one back, worms burning in black light as soon as my fist met their chest. Quint lifted his hands, and from the ground appeared a wall of worms, which I simply put my hands into, causing it to crumble down. The thing within Quint seemed surprised, giving me a chance to place a hand on their chest, expelling a horde of darkness through their eyes and mouth. For a second, their eyes returned to normal. "Kaya, don't trust the prophecy." Their eyes clouded, returning once more to darkness, and from the swirling black behind us, a serpent snapped out at my hand, removing it from Quint's chest. Suddenly, I felt my legs being caught up, and I saw that worms had emerged beneath me, tying my legs together, and soon, my whole body. More ties appeared, and it appeared they were going to cocoon me in darkness. Before I could react, I saw Amadeus reach a hand into Donald, then ripping out a strange cube, which caused the other man to scream, before then crumbling down into what looked like grey ash. Amadeus then put a glowing hand on my shoulder, where the cocoon had spread, and it ignited. The black flames of judgment burnt it all to the ground, freeing me. "Thanks," I thanked.
"Sacred are the Kokeiu,"
he absent-mindedly murmured. I launched myself onto Quint, tackling them to the ground. They pushed me away, but I was able to burn down more of the evils beneath their skin. Then they pushed me over, getting on top of me and looking into my eyes. I attempted to fight back, but whatever was possessing them made them infinitely more stronger. I was left in place.
"One of the 7 must die today,"
the thing laughed, an odd, joyous one.
"The Kokeiu cannot be allowed to return."
Quint's mouth opened, and a waterfall of worms vomited out. Dropping onto my face, I choked as I felt worms burrow into my skin, into my throat, forcing me to swallow them within. My eyesight became blurred as I saw worms begin to cover them from behind my eyes. I began to grow tired, letting the worms take over. Suddenly, I was shot awake, and I saw Quint scream out, now away from me, pained. Around us, the swirling darkness was ablaze, burning and being cast down into ash. Strange lines of light were spreading through, and as I traced them, I realized they came from the messengers above, whom now all kneeled, the white light bursting through their hands and shining through the darkness. Quint fell to their knees as the wall around us stopped swirling, and the worms began to shriek, a high-pitched noise, slowly dimming as they crumbled into ash. In the end, all that was left was Quint, kneeling down on the ground, looking up at me and Amadeus.
"The prophecy says one of the 7 must die," the creature within Quint muttered. "Go ahead, strike them down, and us with it."
"No," I decided, stepping forwards and putting my hands on their shoulders. "No one else will die today." Like I said, this time I was prepared. I felt the light course through my body, alighting every nerve, every vessel, every cell I had, enlightening me to my potential to become a god. And I used that potential. I felt a spiritual hand reach out within Quint, and with all my knowledge and enlightenment, I reached for the worms, and then I stepped back and freed them. With the light, I pulled the creature out, the mass of netted worms, stretching it out of Quint's skin. It was as if another person was leaving their body, as if a great evil was cast out. As I pulled it out, I saw the light snake around the net, burning it, sending bits and pieces to the ground, where it died, reduced to ash. At last, the humanoid net was expelled, and it could only stand in front of me for a second, before it fell, turning to worms, and turning into a blaze of light before reaching the ground, leaving nothing but hot, grey ash. Quint was free, and they smiled a knowing smile, before collapsing to the ground, drained. "It's over," I murmured. "The prophecy was wrong. Nobody else died."
"You're right," Amadeus replied. "I think we may have put too much faith in this book."
I extended a hand, and Amadeus took it. And that's when I felt it. Pain, pure and untempered pain. I screamed, and I looked up to see that the angelic being was entering him, yet not on Amadeus's will. His eyes looked confused, scared. His eyes quickly turned to nothing but light as the creature completely took over him. The light across me began to drain, entering into Amadeus and the creature. "The prophecy must be fulfilled," a melodic, holy voice declared. "We must follow the path set by the ancients." "No!" I yelled. "Amadeus, fight it! Stop that thing! Whatever it is!" "Amadeus isn't here right now," it growled. "There is nothing but us right now." "Who?" I yelped, pain shooting through me as it drained my soul. "Or what are you?" It simply smiled, then said something odd. "We are Raykilian. We serve the path. All unbelievers must be cast down, and all who defy the prophecy must die. I felt tired, and I was getting weak, falling to my knees, almost dead, almost drained. And then I saw a stone sail through the air, hitting Amadeus right on the head. It was Quint, up and about, throwing stones at the creature. And then Amadeus smiled, snapped a finger, and suddenly Quint screamed in agony before falling to the floor, then igniting a blaze. The prophecy shall be full. I never let it finish that sentence. I did the only thing I could think of. If I could get whatever was possessing Quint out of Quint, I could get this Rakilian thing out of Amadeus. It gasped as I shook its hand, reversing the stream of energy, feeding me power, feeding me enlightenment. I got up, and at the same time, it got to its knees, staring at me with white-hot eyes, confused at the sight. I placed my other hand onto Amadeus's chest and began to pull the creature within it out. The prophecy. I exorcised it, ripping the angelic creature from Amadeus. It, exposed, seemed to shriek, confused. I wasn't going to let it manipulate anyone else to follow its unknown agenda, and I placed both hands around the glowing form, extracting every ounce of life from the creature. It let out a final scream, sounding like static as it exploded, transforming into a shower of brilliant lights. Blues, greens, reds, and all sorts of truly wondrous colours filled the air, catching onto our skin and melting away, becoming nothing. I rushed over to Quint, who, they were dead. Nothing more than a charred, blackened body. I was too late. Too late. The prophecy had come true. One of the 7 was dead. Amadeus walked over, solemn. "We failed," I cried, sobbing. "We failed." "No," Amadeus responded, placing a hand onto Quint's dead body. "The prophecy was wrong." It was as if the wind died down, then stopping. All was quiet, and then, well, it happened. Time seemed to reverse itself, and Quint's body began to return to normal clothes, changing from ashes to brightness, hair returning to their normal purple essence. At last their eyes shot open, alive. "The prophecy was wrong," I murmured. "Indeed it was," Amadeus agreed. And that was that. I never found out what I did in the hours I lost. When I got home, the corpse of Olivia was gone, and my apartment was no longer covered in blood. The figurine was gone too, no trace of it but a single canine tooth, dropped on the floor. I tried to find out about what Rakilian meant, but nobody seemed to know. I even tried reaching out to Jack Mayflower, but the university said he'd gone on a personal vacation, away. I simply wouldn't find out, at least, not soon. Meanwhile, Amadeus and the messengers found that a significant chapter of the book was gone, the one about the prophecy. A secretary at the temple stated that all the books suddenly just caught on fire, and the chapter was simply gone. The odd thing is, well, the books all burned just as I extinguished the creature controlling Amadeus, the one behind the whole prophecy thing. I joined the path towards enlightenment, not really truly believing in it, but, well, I suppose my newfound powers gave me some cause to believe. And that's all. And for once in my life, I decided to fulfill a promise. 2 days later, I sat across from Stephanie Rengage. Everything, for once, okay. Actually, there's one more thing. Something isn't right about this. I wrote down my story as it happened, but there's something wrong with it. Now that I look over it, something just isn't right. I wrote that Quint Mognis was my best friend, but I can't seem to remember anything about Mognis before my first statement. I don't know who they are. It's getting harder to think about them. what they looked like, who they were. I don't understand. As I'm looking back, I realise they didn't act right. I told them my neighbour ate a block of wood, and they just said they'd look into it. At the time, that felt right, but now... No. This isn't making sense. Who is Quint Mognis?